Hi, good afternoon. My name is Richard Wesley. I'm the chairman of the Newark Black Film Festival Selection Committee. And I'd like to welcome you all this afternoon. And thank you also for staying after the screening to meet our guest this afternoon, the director of today's presentation, Love, Brooklyn. Something really personal pleasure of mine. The director, Rachael Holder, is one of my former students at NYU. It's like, wow, okay. So without much further ado, and enough about me, is Rachael Holder. I think it's
Hello.
is your microphone sitting next to
Yes, I'm sitting on it.
Oh.
Hi. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, that's a perfect illustration of my emotions right now. My former students. This is great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not that you've seen me since graduation.
That's true. It's like, I can't get over it. Okay. All right.
I grew up. I did things.
Yeah. Oh, man. This is, wow. So,
Yeah.
give us some of the background on Love, Brooklyn. When you were at NYU, you were studying to be the screenwriter.
Yes.
But you're the director of this film.
Yeah.
So,
What happened?
yeah, that switch, that evolution, and how did they come into your space, or you came into their space?
Yeah.
You know, because there are a lot of screenwriters and writers who have thought about directing but have never done it, and yet here you are.
Yeah. So I became a director first in the business. So I'd been a writer since I was a small girl, and then I went to NYU for my MFA in dramatic writing. And when I graduated, I tried really hard to get just like an assistant's job in LA, like something small. And I didn't know anyone, so I couldn't get any work. And so I made a web series that I wrote, and I cast my most famous friend, and it went, like, it was like before things went viral, but it got a lot of views, and Warner Brothers bought it, and that was my first, like, industry job, and
You did one of those like Issa Rae type things.
yes, lots of people sent me Insecure, and they were like, do this, do that. And I was like, okay, just get an HBO show, I will try. And Warner Brothers bought it, and we did it again. And in doing that, because my voice was so me and specific, I needed to direct it. I'd never directed anything before in my life, but I felt compelled to. And so I did, and then because I directed all of those episodes, I started directing television. And that's how I've been making money. That's been my day job for 7 to 8 years now. Yeah. And I've been trying to transition back into writing desperately, but no one wants to produce the writing of a television director. So I had to direct someone else's feature first, and that's how Love, Brooklyn came about.
Well, that's a magical credit. Written and directed by.
Totally.
That's a real special credit.
Yes, that's the goal. That's the next thing.
Yeah, especially in this day and age,
Yeah.
the way in which the business is starting to transition, or use the word in the film, evolve. Written and directed by that's where the business is headed. What were there any specific challenges that you faced? As a former writer who is directing, or actually a current writer who has switched over to directing, and you're picking up another writer's script.
Yeah.
You're talking to them about story and shaping the story, for film, and then you're taking over the project from there and moving on, because that's your vision that was up on the screen.
Yes. Yeah. So just a little backstory about Love Brooklyn. Love Brooklyn was written by a white man.
Yeah, Paul Zimmer.
Yes, about his 20s. So I had to really put myself into this movie. And so there was a director's pass that I did just to give it, the specific culture that you see. So that was a little bit challenging because I didn't want to change the movie too much. I didn't want to edit his writing because when I read it, I saw myself, I heard my friends, I heard my relationships, and I saw and heard my Brooklyn. And so while I didn't want to just dip the script in chocolate, I wanted to give it a specific culture, I also didn't want to change it too much so that the humanity that I experienced when reading it would still be there. And that in conversations like this, I would be able to say that I didn't change it too much, but it's now a Black movie.
It was interesting. As I watched the film, the first shot that you had of Andre Holland's character in their apartment in Brooklyn, the very first person I thought of was Nelson George. Nelson George is a cultural critic, Black cultural critic, who has written numerous articles and essays, and has written and produced his own films about hip-hop, jazz, R&B, and other cultural phenomenon. And Nelson lived in an apartment very much like that, in Fort Greene, in Brooklyn, and this was back in the 80s through the early 90s. So he was in Brooklyn with Spike and with the jazz musician Branford Marsalis. There was a young Black professional class. Back in those days, we used to use the term buppies, Black upwardly mobile buppies. And they had settled in Fort Greene, in Brooklyn, almost all at the same time. Filmmakers, playwrights, actors, actresses, directors, designers, lawyers, people working in the financial district and everything. They all were in Fort Greene, right around the park that Spike used to use all the time. And She's Gotta Have It and Jungle Fever and everything. And you may not have known that, but you really captured that in the film, because that's what I saw when I saw that, it was like studio or one-bedroom apartment that he had. Then of course the second thing I was like, how's that dude affording that apartment?
Right.
But even if even as you described your approach to the film, what made it so interesting was how well you captured that aspect of Black life, as it is even in Brooklyn today. Mm-hmm. And also, of course, in capturing that, you captured the humanity of the people who were involved.
Thank you.
Good. How many days shooting?
We originally had 21 days, and then my first day of prep, I was asked to make it 19.
So you had to find a way to lose 2 days.
Yes, while not losing anything. And I was 7 months pregnant.
Oh.
It was wild. Yes, round of applause, thank you.
Well, um, um, Black excellence. That's all. That's what I can say, Black Queen magic. Okay.
Thank you.
And this was shot, so it was shot 19 days.
Yeah, and then we had some pickup days because of COVID and the strikes. We had a couple of pickup days that we had to do some stuff.
And were you involved in the location scouting, or was that someone else who basically was bringing things to you to approve?
Yeah, well, we had a really great location scout, George, and I would get like pictures and then decide where we would go, but we were all over. I'll never forget those days because I was so nauseous. And climbing those steps and like figuring out what looked great. And because we would have to film all over, but we were, it was set in a certain part of Brooklyn, so we had to sort of find places that felt still like where we were supposed to actually be.
Well, you were in Prospect Park,
Yeah.
and so would have been the neighborhoods immediately around Prospect
No,
Park?
so like our famous park, like at the end, that's Owl's Head.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought that was Prospect too.
No, it's Owl's Head. It's so many filming days there where Roger takes Allie to the park. That's also Owl's Head. When they're lying in the grass and smoking weed and talking together, Casey and Roger. That's also Owl's Head. We spent a lot of days there. Yeah, still Brooklyn, but not the famous.
Not the
Yeah.
big one.
Yeah.
Well, you did good because I know I saw some aspects of Prospect, and I thought to myself,
Yeah, no, we
wow,
definitely
they shot in
filmed there.
Prospect.
Yeah, but we only got one day. Yeah.
One day. Okay.
Yeah, so we couldn't do everything in one day.
And working with the child actor,
Yeah.
because she was really very good.
Yeah.
With a little missing tooth and
Yes.
everything.
Yeah. Cadence is amazing. She auditioned when we were first supposed to shoot, and then we were delayed. And I remember the day that we had to Zoom with her just to make sure that like her voice hadn't changed yet and that she was still a little girl. And she's just such a brilliant actor. I could give her real direction. I never really believed that children are actors because they have nothing to pull from. And so like in my past experience, I would just say the line and then they would mimic me. But with Cadence, I could talk to her about the story, and I could tell her like where she was emotionally, and she was just really smart, just a really brilliant kid.
Excellent. I'm going to open up to any questions from the audience, because I know there are a lot of, or I was made to understand that there are a number of aspiring screenwriters and filmmakers in the audience. So if you have some questions to ask of someone who has gone through the business, and as you see this, a finished product up here at the screen, this is the time to ask, because you're looking at someone who's going to be quite busy, I think, going forward in the future. And I don't know how many more opportunities there are going to be to ask her questions in venues like this. Zoom. Oh, good. My former student, I can't get over this. Okay. All right.
Hi.
I'm so excited just to be. I made sure I woke up early. I'm not an early morning person. I'm going to be here on time. Thank you for this piece. I think it's so layered and so nuanced that it's so refreshing to see this right now, especially because we're having this conversation about DEI and who gets funding and what stories get told and what's authentic and what's not authentic. So I would love to hear your perspective on just how you can, as a director or
Yeah, it's grueling. As an artist, I love to tell stories about us that are about our sensitivities when nothing traumatic is happening. Um, and uh, it's a very hard pitch. It's a hard thing to articulate, especially with what it feels is new language. And um, yeah, it's grueling. It took us 6 years to get this movie made. COVID and the strikes helped with the delay, but it was um, a lot of difficult conversations. But I think that there is space, so much space for stories like these, and um, like I was telling a friend of mine who's a brilliant actress, a Black woman, that there aren't a lot of us. And when we're great, we're really good. And so there's always room for that. There's always room for magic.
What is about so okay with this story? I know that this is probably not.
Oh, yeah, we're just going to use the microphone, dear.
Okay. So the second question I have to follow that up is because you're being very specific about the story you're telling and you're saying sans trauma, sans disaster or threat or any type of emotional damage to the viewer and to yourself creating it, I'm sure. Why was it that a romantic story really got your interest to tell that?
Because of the characters, really. I wanted to spend time with them. And they were sensitive in a way. So the specific thing that I like to do in my storytelling is to tell stories about us and Black women and men who are sensitive and without anything traumatic happening. And because they were crying and they were feeling their feelings and they were expressing them, I felt like it was the perfect piece to do that.
The interesting, on another level, your film was very French. You know, put. I thought I was looking at a French film for a while because there was so much subtlety and nuance. You had to really spend time watching the faces of the actors
Mm-hmm.
because it wasn't so much what they were saying, it was the spaces in between what they were saying,
Yeah.
the subtext of the dialogue itself. I thought that was like, wow, yeah, this is like one of those French New Wave type films or something. Yeah,
Thank you.
they're like, I almost, yeah, I was da 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 da. Da, 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 it's one of those like little French things from the 60s and the 70s.
Cool. I'll take it.
Cool. I like that. I like that because you're challenging the audience.
Yeah.
You're not feeding things to them. You're really challenging them.
Yeah.
You're asking the audience to spend time with these characters, to think about what these characters are feeling and what they're saying, and to really have an emotional conversation with them. I like that. I like that a lot.
Thank you.
Sorry. Thought I saw another hand go up. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hi.
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 Great movie, by the way. Really,
Thank you.
just absolutely well done, well filmed, well lit. Everything was just gorgeous. Two questions. One, the chemistry between between the actors were just fabulous. There was that wonderful part where they were in the park, where Andre and Nicole were in the park playing their characters. It seemed so natural and it flowed so natural. Was that an improv moment? Because was there a lot of improvisation in terms of the dialogue within the film? And also, just what was the significance of those shots of him just riding down the streets by himself a lot, and particularly the one where he just sat straight out in the middle of the street?
Yeah, to start with your second question, we really wanted to show Brooklyn and the trees and our quiet nights there. Um, and for people to feel like what you were saying. So the script had a lot of subtext, a lot of they're not saying what they're saying. And so I had to write their biographies and then write all of what was not being said. And so it was the actor's job to sort of pick that up and play with it. There was some improv, but not a lot. And the chemistry that you're picking up on is because Andre and Nicole are literal friends and they've known each other for many, many years. And Andre is the reason why we got Nicole to be in the movie. Andre's a large part of the reason why we have the movie at all. When he came on board, we initially lost all of our funding right before COVID, and then he became a producer, and he got the last check that we needed to make this film, and then a lot of the cast, because of his relationships with them, we were able to score. So I hope that answers your question. I don't remember the first one. I think it was the chemistry thing.
There was a second part of it. Can you remember? Yeah, the second part of the question.
Oh, great.
Answered
cool.
all of it. Oh, good. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you guys so much for watching the film and sticking around for this bit. I think I'm getting signaled that we're wrapping up. Okay.
One more, two more.
One more.
Okay. Okay. Then if the it's hard for me. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. I did want to try to get at least one more question in here because I could have sworn I saw another hand go up and everything. There we go. Yeah.
There was a lot of symbolism in the film, and one of which came for me was like gentrification and the idea in regards to Nicole's character essentially selling grandma's house, with the gallery. Was that kind of, did you want to speak to that? Was that intentional? And then another question I had was in regards to having Nicole and Andre lay on the grass without a blanket, and also the tree, when they took out the daughter and was about to play in the tree, and we thought she was going to fall from the tree.
Yeah.
But shifting from it being kind of predictable to her coming back. So I just love all those choices. So what my question was about.
Thank you. So the grass and the trees were really important to me. Visually, they give me peace and calm. And when I'm lying in the grass in Brooklyn without a blanket, I feel a lot of peace and calm. And that was an intention for the viewers of the film to feel that as well. Your other question, I'm sorry, I have such mama brain right now. What was your other question? Oh, yeah. Okay, yes. So this movie is primarily about change, change in relationships, change in your city, and the grief that comes with that. And so absolutely, gentrification is a huge part of our film. Change, lots of change.
Well,
we're gonna get in real trouble.
No, just
They're
making
saying,
sure.
get off the stage.
I really would like to thank you so much, Rachel, for this film and for what I feel it represents in terms of where young filmmakers are going, and certainly young Black filmmakers are going in these next 4 or 5 years. because if we're going to be artists who are telling stories, then we definitely are going to have to tell stories that really begin to address what's going on inside,
Totally.
you know,
Yes.
inside of us.
Yes.
And you are very representative of that, and you're doing a wonderful job of it.
Thank
And
you.
I wish you all the best going forward.
Thank you.
And I thank all of you for spending this time with us this morning and this early afternoon. And thank you for being here. And can we have just one more hand for
Thank you so much.